A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Miriam Oguta, and we're coming to you all the way from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. This is Unfiltered Friday edition, and on the show, we'll get to look at the latest. We do have some topics lined up for you, and then we shall look at what stood out for us at the tail end of the show. Thank you so much, and now just take us to where Dr. Matanga is at the Political Command Center. Doctor, very good morning to you. Very well, then I'll bring in Daniel Besonga. Doc, are you ready? You're muted, we can't hear you. All right, Daniel Besonga, very good morning to you.
Daniel, you go first. My internet is playing where I am.
All right, Doc. Good morning to you, Miriam Mogutu. Good morning to our viewers here in Nairobi, Kenya. Good morning to our viewers who are watching at Kampala. Good morning to our viewers who are watching us in Dar es Salaam, Kigali, Rwanda, Bujumbura, and all the parts of East Africa, Africa, and the rest of the world. It is indeed my pleasure to join the Unfiltered show this Friday of February this morning, Miriam. Good morning.
All right, and of course, before we start the show, let me just bring us up to date with the latest headlines on the leading newspapers this morning from the country. And on the Star newspaper, the main headline, Raila Ruto forms campaign teams. Both sides are planning to put aside billions for logistics as they assemble crack teams that will cover main regions daily. The story is on page 4 and 5 on the Star newspaper. You can't deliver anything to Kenyans, Joho tells Ruto. Treasury very crucial in Uhuru transition, says CS Ukuru Yatani. The story is on page 7 on the Star newspaper. And then we turn our attention to the Daily Nation. And on the Daily Nation, the main headline, 4 in 10 Kenyans can't pay house rent. A new economic report by the Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis shows that while only 6.6% of Kenyans could afford to pay their rent at all before the outbreak of the pandemic, this number has jumped more than 5 times to 37.5% during the pandemic. The story is on page 10. And fashionable, dazzling, and modest. I think that is on trend. And Waiguru to Uhuru, we have moved on. The Kirinyaga governor, once a strong ally of President, claims that William Ruto's United Democratic Alliance is Mount Kenya's party of choice, and that the president's Jubilee Party is dead and buried in his own backyard. The story is on page 5. State to pay for teachers on training program, that is on the back page on the Daily Nation. And then we turn our attention to the Standard newspaper. Why Wanjigi could spoil Raila's party. The once steadfast relationship between Jimmy Wanjigi and Raila Odinga is going through a rough patch. Wanjigi opens up on his battles with the state and why he is challenging an ODM conference. That is on page 4 and 5 on the Standard newspaper. Talks that stopped Uhuru's men's exit. That is on page 6. Baba the artist, Odinga's new anthem. You find that on page 10. Raila will be a puppet, says DP. That is on page 6. And Charles Keter's entry spices up Kericho race. And the main pictorial on the Standard newspaper, heat, sweat, and dust. Safari Classic, started yesterday, and that's what we have in the leading newspapers this morning. So I'll just take us back to Doc, where you are. I don't know what's the status of your connection now. Very well. So he's not able to connect. So when Doc is able to connect, we will have him. But perhaps we look at some of the things before we get into the headlines and the topics that we have lined up for you. There is something that caught my attention on page 7 of the Standard newspaper. It's not on the headlines, but I think it's important in line to the recently launched UHC the president did. We saw the other day in Mombasa. So there is an update and perhaps a breakdown on some of these things, because perhaps Kenyans don't really understand. And so the universal health coverage scale up, how Kenyans can access and benefit. So there's a proper breakdown. I think it's important for us to give this information out there, and then we will get back to the topics of the day and the politics. So there will be the UHC super cover for the inpatient package, and the cover that will cover hospital stay with healthcare diagnosis, procedure, and treatment, including consultation and specialist doctor's fee, bed charges and nursing care, diagnostic, laboratory, and radiology investigations, prescribed medication and dressing. It covers management of endemic, local diseases, including chronic conditions. So that is there. And the amount of money that will be paid under that 717,050 number of admissions covered under inpatient benefit packages in 2020. That is the amount of people who have already benefited from that. And then the UHC super cover renal dialysis package covers hemodialysis, including specialist review, nursing and dialysis services, intra-care and dispensed medications, routine laboratory tests, nutrition, counseling, and follow-up care. And about 284,838 patients on dialysis have benefited from this package between 2020 and 2021. And the UHC super cover surgical package, where covers all surgical procedures, including transplants. This has benefited around 101,040 surgeries financed under the surgical benefits package in 2020 and 2021. And so it continues on the UHC super cover oncology package, includes treatment for cancer patients using chemotherapy, radiotherapy. So I'm sure a lot of Kenyans do not know, if you're suffering from some of these conditions, through this cover and NHIF, the covers are broken down there. You can go and you can have your free you can have your treatment in very subsidized charges. And we do have also the UHC super cover overseas treatment that covers treatment of medical and surgical interventions arising from a condition that warrants treatment not available in Kenya. Members or declared dependents must be cleared by Ministry of Health for travel. And 927 patients on overseas treatment package have benefited from that between 2020 and 2021. So the UHC super cover outpatient package covers consultation, laboratory, radiological investigations, including x-rays. I think this is what Kenyans know, because when you look at all these covers, this is the one that has so many people benefited from, over 1.6 million Kenyans through hospital visits under this cover. And between 2020 and 2021, over 1.6 Kenyans benefited from that. And we do have the maternity benefits package, emergency care package, radiology package, and all this. So I think this is very important information, and to see how the NHIF together with the UHC, we are able to have a comprehensive, health cover for people. Daniel Asonga, from what just I've been reading, and when you see these figures broken down like this, and to see how many Kenyans have benefited from this, the universal health coverage, scale up is slowly becoming, actually it's not slowly, it is becoming a reality to many Kenyans who are plagued by a lot of high bills, and some of which they could not even afford, as we know.
Miriam, President Uhuru Kenyatta is doing incredibly well in terms of the universal health coverage, and some of the facilities and the equipment that he has been able to disperse throughout the national government hospitals and the county government hospitals, they are actually what most Kenyans have been going to actually access in private hospitals. They're actually, some of the machines, some of them like the dialysis machine, are the ones that most Kenyans have been traveling all the way outside the country to India to be able to utilize such machines. I believe with the universal health coverage under the Big Four agenda, President Uhuru Kenyatta is gonna set a blueprint, a firm foundation for our country to start walking the journey that countries like India, like Cuba, started walking some decades ago. And that will be very, very great for the people of this country. They will be no longer required to travel to India and maybe spend millions of money on treatment when they can access some of these facilities in Mombasa, in Nairobi, and many other major cities where we have teaching and referral hospitals. That is a milestone, Miriam. I can tell you, as someone who ever sat in an economics class, the importance of having healthcare of a country improved. It means that the labor force will be motivated, and a healthy nation is a wealthy nation, because people become productive, people are motivated to go out there when they're in good health and work and earn a living out of the various income earning activities that they partake. So therefore, Miriam, for me, I really want to congratulate and pat President Uhuru Kenyatta on the back for actually taking the matter of universal health coverage quite seriously. It will lower the cost of treatment for Kenyans here locally. It will actually mean that even the private hospitals will look at whatever public hospitals are offering, and the prices will go down as well. We will no longer have private wings in major private hospitals and public hospitals, because all the things that the Kenyan people have been looking out for in these hospitals will actually be offered at a very affordable rate, and therefore everyone will be able to access quality healthcare. And you've just read out the various covers that the Kenyans are entitled to. That is quite affordable. That is quite satisfactorily in terms of the services that are being offered. And I don't see any reason why someone maybe might look somewhere else, somewhere further, when you can get all that at home. That is a good job. And I believe if the leadership that is coming on board, I've heard about Raila talking about Babacare. I don't know whatever William Ruto stands for, but if we have a leader who is going to continue in the same tracks, in the same footsteps that President Uhuru Kenyatta has already initiated, then we have hopes that going into the future, Kenyans will be proud people in that they will be having affordable healthcare in their country, and they can be able to live as a happy people where health facilities can be able to serve all their health needs if need be. Miriam, I submit.
Yes, indeed, and from the breakdown, we see these different packages and how Kenyans stand to benefit, seeking different services when it comes to their health. And not many Kenyans are aware, just reading through that list, not many Kenyans are aware they could actually access, I think there's the super package. This is just an upscale of what we already had, and that is now being rolled out after the pilot is being rolled out to the rest of the country. So perhaps now the Ministry of Health needs to do a good job in creating awareness and spreading the message and just letting Kenyans know, you know what, you can now access these services at a very subsidized price. And as long as you remember and you have a card for the NHIF, you're able to benefit from some of these things. So what are some of the ways that now the Ministry of Health and the government of Kenya should now just spread the word and create awareness so that Kenyans know these services actually do exist?
Exactly, Miriam. And of course, we are doing it here on Punchline Africa TV because we are a community TV, and we believe in informing the people of Kenya about the good work that President Uhuru Kenyatta is doing in matters legacy. And that is a commendable thing to do. It's a noble thing to do for the legacy of the president. But however, like you just said, the Ministry of Health should go a mile further and be able to educate the people about these various covers and how they can become beneficiaries of the universal health coverage. And they should not only focus even on media houses, but even in the hospitals themselves. They should put that in inquiry desks of every government medical facility, in that when patients are visiting, they inquire whether they have the NHIF card, and if they have the NHIF card, what are the benefits that they can be able to use with that card in regards to the universal health coverage. So I agree with you, Miriam, that sensitization and publicity is quite good in this particular matter, so that a majority of our people are able to know that they can use their NHIF card to access some of these privileges that are there under the umbrella of the universal health coverage. Sometimes they say that in the Bible, it is said that my people perish because of lack of knowledge. So if the Ministry of Health is not going to spread out this particular knowledge that we are serving here on this particular community TV, then majority of people might perish while having the NHIF card without knowing that they can actually get help from the public hospitals. So I concur with you, Miriam, that we need public sensitization about these matters.
Absolutely, and I think it's a very good move on the government's part in line with President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda. And Doc, we were just looking at a bit of keeping up with President Kenyatta's legacy, and this time we're still continuing with what we've been doing lately, as highlighting, the universal healthcare. There's a lot of good things in that perhaps Kenyans might not really be aware. So we've been doing that in our subsequent shows. And now, welcome. If you can hear me from wherever you are, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning, viewers across the continent of Africa. I don't know whether I'm audible enough. Am I audible enough?
Yes, yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I've been partly listening because my network was not very good, but it is a very great honor to be associated with the legacy of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya for the role that he has played in giving healthcare a priority. A healthy country can produce miracles in economy. A healthy country can produce taxation. A healthy country can do healthy politics. If a country has got disease and the disease is killing everybody, then you won't have a country at all. So his priority of the Big Four agenda remain very important to this nation. And we believe that after August 2022, there will be somebody who can push the healthcare systems further and take the Big Four agenda beyond. Otherwise, I associate with the comments that the people of Kenya take the National Insurance Health the card, NHIF card, have it in your hands. You never know. You know, when you walk, you can't know which disease is going to strike you first. What will come? You can have an eye, you can be walking, something bites your eye, you need to go to hospital, you can knock your toe, you can crush your teeth, anything can happen to a human body. So to me, I believe that the people of Kenya are endowed to have a man of this nature, a man who thinks for them, a man who has looked ahead and seen that in times to come, COVID-19 came, and if it was not Uhuru Kenyatta and the current administration and the minister, we would have been in a terrible mess, Miriam. You saw, all of you, and Daniel, you saw the mess some of the countries in Africa found themselves in. But Uhuru Kenyatta and Mutahi Kagwe and the government of Jubilee stood firm to the extent that some people did not want. They thought it was a mess. People were looking for money. There was no COVID. You remember some of the statements that were made in the beginning. Some of them were not very good at all. But thank you very much, Mr. President. The healthcare is now here, and it is upon us, the media and the other community groups, organizations, radio stations, to start informing the public about the registration, about getting this card. It can help. That's what I can say about that this morning.
Mm-hmm. And also, I think from experience, I think also the younger generation, like us and the rest, who perhaps are able to, let's take it for our parents. Back in the village, sometimes you spend so much money taking care of their health. In old age, a lot of things come up. So I think this will be a good relief even for us, because when you look at the amount of money you get to spend every time you have to pay from your pocket when they visit the hospital, vis-a-vis taking for them this cover and paying for it, and how much you're paying per year, you realize even for yourself, you will live a more stress-free life, because when our parents get to a certain age, frequent hospital visits are unavoidable. So perhaps that is a challenge. That is something that even lots of young people out there could consider, so that it's easier on you. Because at the end of the day, you have to take care of them. Sometimes it's hard. I know that.
Indeed, it is the nature of today. If there is any problem, people run to put their bill, the hospital bill, on social media. So instead of you putting the hospital bill on social media for people to help you, give me 10,000, give me 5,000, first of all, encourage all of you, including the elders. I agree with what Miriam is suggesting, that go and register your parents, go and register your brothers, go and encourage your brothers in the villages to register, such that when something happens, not that you will not pay some money. There will be some money, but it will be less, or you will be given time maybe to bring back, because they have your identity card. You will not go anywhere. The disease might not go away. You will come back to the same hospital. So you will have an obligation to say, let me pay something, so that when I come back, there is that sense of hope, Miriam, It brings this ID brings a sense of hope. Sense of hope, there is no despair. So the sense of despair here. There's no state of despondence. If someone cannot sit down and say, I'm fed up with this country. No, there is a hope to say, at least there, if I fall sick and I have my card in my wallet, I'll go to any clinic and say, hello, just give me the medicine, process the card, they will pay you. That is the life that some of us have lived in for the last 37 years. When you fall, you have a problem, a headache, constant, you have something, you enter the GP. The GP in London does not ask you, where is the money? No. He just goes to the computer and says, Miriam, okay, fine, all right, what is the problem? When can you have the appointment? First book the appointment. The most important thing in this health unit of universal health care is now we are reducing the number of those waiting on the waiting list, because the system will be telling you, today you have 50 you have appointments. One GP has 50 appointments. So how many GPs do we need in a hospital? This is the NHIF number will help so many things, Miriam, not only the patients. It also helps for us to know the number of people in particular locations. Because in the future, if you look at the universal health care system that Kenya is trying to put forward, you are going to reach a state where you will now know that location of Pumwani, it needs a GP and one clinic. Location of Kaloreni, it needs a GP and one clinic. Remember, we have a number of United Nations regulations, how many doctors per person. It's like how many policemen per person, per location, So those are the goals of 2030, which President Uhuru Kenyatta is trying to achieve now. Therefore, we need a legacy to continue achieving them. Thank you.
All right, and yes, indeed, and for the benefit of Kenyans, we shall be here. We have a duty to let them know what is really happening, and some of these things they stand to greatly benefit from. All right, so let's now get into our topics of today, and the first one is politics of hate in Kenya, and then we shall move on to the NGOs and the corruption that sometimes prevails in these institutions, Doc. So would you like to start us off, first topic of politics of hate?
Thank you very much, Miriam. First of all, I have been very observant. Yesterday, I was not around. I was somewhere away and I came back. I'm available now that I can be able to push to tell you. But while I was away, I noticed that the politics of hate has become the norm of the day. I noticed that the politics of hate, of agony, of, people are frustrated. Where is the frustration coming from? This frustration is coming because people have no agenda. When you have exhausted your agenda, you have been talking for 4 years. If you don't change or rebrand, it's like what we've said about AU. AU needs to be rebranded, because AU cannot continue to be AU if it cannot achieve to silence guns by 2020. So for me, Miriam, I believe that the politics of hate is because there is no ideology. The ideology in the system, like if you take an example of UDA, they have been talking about the wheelbarrow, and the people are asking, where is this wheelbarrow bottom up? It has reached a point that even the UDA itself are beginning to say we shall provide free money, which now Raila also has said, I will pay 60,000. And the UDA is saying we shall also give people who are vulnerable some money, mama mboga, mama nyama, mama kuku. You know, there's a lot of mama kuku, mama mboga, mama chop. I don't know why they reduce women to vegetables. You know, I know they use it as a word, but I think time has come for you people, Miriam, as women also to protest. There must be baba mboga. There are so many babas here who have mboga, who look after their homes without wives. Why should I say mama mboga will have this money free? So, in a nutshell, not to divert from what the question is, the politics of hate. Why is it there? The politics of hate at the moment is not there because it is there because people lack ideology, Miriam. It is finished. You started campaigning in 2018. Immediately the handshake was, the election got finished. And you have been telling lies since 2018, that you have forgotten even the lies that you talked. And you are repeating them, modifying them. Even on TV, people go and bring out what you say. When you said Emeror and the Kimeroro Dam, it was not 21 billion, it is 7 billion. And today you are saying we shall build a dam here. And then you are going to Italy to look for money from this white guy who took the money. You can see the problem. Now you have lacked ideas. So that is where the problem is. The politics of hate is as a result, Miriam, of bad politics, or politics recycled for so long time. For example, not everybody in the villages know what bottom up is. What's bottom up in Swahili? Can I ask what is bottom up in Swahili? Maybe Wesonga, you people who know Swahili, what do you call bottom up in Swahili? Bottom up in Swahili, ndio nini? So you have seen, can you see now all of us on this platform are silent? Me, at least for me, I'm not a Swahili speaker. But if you ask any local man in Embu, woman in Embu, in Nyando, in Siaya, in Ugenya, in Migori, in Kisii, in the language of the Kisii, what is bottom up economy? What is bottom up? Niambia kwa Kiswahili. What does it mean, Wesonga? Maybe you look every time that you unazungumza Kiswahili bwana. Niambie, how do you call bottom up in Swahili?
Perhaps that one, Doc, we should take it to the UDA guys, because I saw the other day even someone asked people in Kalenjin who are singing about bottom up. What is bottom up in Kalenjin? They don't even understand it.
So maybe all of you, we are in agreement. Lack of ideology, explanation has brought anger. Because now you cannot go to Kalenjin farm, a home, and say, I am bringing bottom up. So I said, what is bottom up in Kalenjin? In fact, maybe I'm just going to post it right now as we speak. I want to put anybody in Kenya to tell me what bottom up means in their language. That some people might not even explain, because bottom up in some of the dialects in Africa is a very bad word. You can't even talk about it. So if you bring such an empty shell, you can't explain in vernacular what bottom up in Swahili today. Ndio nini? When you are addressing Swahili, why do you add English? Why, when they reach the word, wanasema hawa watu ya mnyororo tunataka kuleta bottom up? Why don't you say tunataka something? What? Have you seen hapo to catch 22 iko hapo? The ordinary person, if you Raila's version is very clear. He says, every vulnerable home, it will receive a Beisha. A Beisha. I don't know what you will call it. I don't know what Luya. Luya, I'm also Luya, like a song I would say, Kama Pes.
Or Kamangondo.
Kamangotore. But you tell me, how do you call bottom up in Luya? Receive no see any hide. Eh? Wabonek Papa. We song awali, receive no see any hide. Aha, have you seen the medium? When song has already started, people will run away from you. If you say bottom up in Luya, in my language,
yes,
nobody will talk to you again. When they see you, they will think this man is mad man in the market.
Yeah, such things cannot even be uttered in a public context.
In the public, when the children are there, receive no say you sahibu no. You can't. No, maybe I'm asking somebody. I know you have friends, lawyer. Ask that Matanga was saying this thing. They will say, hey. So let the campaign start, and we also start explaining people. You ask a Kikuyu in Embu or that what is bottom up. Honestly, go to Embu Church and start explaining bottom up in church. Even the church goers will start picking the Bibles and go away. You said you have defamed us. So that is what is causing danger. The ideology is petty, finished. So when the ideology is finished, you think Raila has stolen your ideology. You think Raila is a project. You think Raila is being given money from State House. Yet you yourself, you are driving with State House petrol. The budget that is being given to the president increased to 1.2 billion is part of you. You are going to use that budget for petrol to campaign against some of the candidates who have no money. So do you have an idea? You turn. That is why I told you, Miriam, this election of Kenya, you are heading. Do you know what? I was on a plane yesterday and asked somebody that how do you pay 42 billion to be beaten up on 10th August? This person was very angered. He was very, very upset. How do you pay 42 billion shillings to prepare an election to be beaten up? Did you know that? Chebukati is requesting 18 billion for you prepare to close your door or get the timber and block the windows so that the glasses don't break up. Is that an election? Is that an election? Maybe I'm wrong, but that is why there is at the moment hatred. One side has lost. It has no idea. It is only howling insults. Where, you are doing this. That is all the politics we have. Uhuru says it's a marathon, but the people are tired also. That is what Mudavadi is saying. Is there an idea he's selling? If you ask Mudavadi in Maragori, what is bottom up in Maragori? Let him go to church. If you know the ghost, the spirit of the mom will wake up and throw him down. If he explains that word in Maragori, it's a very bad word. Bottom up, bottom up, bottom up, bottom uriwaena. Inyusa kamarango hungaki. Where it's bottom up, very dangerous things. But Songa, you know that. So That has caused the problem, Miriam. That is where the hatred is coming from. I submit.
All right, Wesonga, a couple of things that
I don't know whether Miriam can also try to explain what bottom up.
No, I will not do that. But the things, Doc, you've spoken that really stood out for me. One of them is the lack of ideology, and the other one is, I think there have been a lot of politics for a long time. So people have lacked, they've run out of ideas. So instead of taking this opportune time to sell the agenda to Kenyans, it has been reduced to just calling people names. Wesonga.
Yes, thank you, Miriam. And of course, if you've been listening to William Ruto since 2015, when he started to campaign for his presidential bid, you might have been used to his kind of campaign up to now. When he goes out there and he's talking all about mzee wa kitendawili, watapeli, wakora, and all those kind of derogatory terms that a leader of his caliber might not maybe be perceived to be using. And therefore, actually agree with Dr. Matsanga strongly on that it is lack of agenda that is actually derailing our politics. And in as much as you see NGOs like the Open Society Foundation actually supporting William Ruto, it is not because they actually agree with William Ruto on his principles. They do not, I believe George Soros himself does not even believe in leaders who are actually implicated in corruption. But since these are a man who has offered himself to be used by the NGOs to fight a legitimately elected government and to be able perhaps to quash the status quo, then the Open Society Foundation and other NGOs find some residence inside these particular men. And these are people who are not campaigning on any agenda. Musalia Mudavadi, for example, look at him, a man who prides himself in a fine grasp of economics, telling the supporters that they do not eat roads, telling them that debt can actually bring down a country. Of course, to some extent it could, but as a trained economist, you know that no country, even the United States of America, operates on a debt. And even in business today, Miriam, if you are to start a business at a personal level and you go to solicit maybe consultancy services with someone in the financial sector, they will first of all tell you a business and an individual are two different things. And therefore, for a business to succeed, then you do not have to use your personal money. You can use money borrowed from a bank, no matter how rich you are. And then from that, the discipline of running your project will actually be derived from it. And that is why you see even rich men like the late Kirubi in Kenya, despite having billions of shillings in their bank accounts, if they wanted to start a project, even like Two Rivers, they went all the way to the bank for provision of these loans so that they can use the money to invest. They did not invest from their own pockets. So these are people who are actually taking the conversation into a very, very demeaning the conversation and taking it into a lower bar of maybe discourse so that they are able to earn a few political bonga points and surface the expediency that they require to ascend to power. So to me, I believe, Miriam, whatever is actually destroying our politics is lack of agenda from our political players. The other day, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga challenged William Ruto to open up this bottom-up economic model he has been talking about. You've seen how Alice Wahome, the MP for Kandara, who is a very close confidant of William Ruto, he has been fumbling about explaining the theory behind the bottom-up economics. No one can be able to explain whatever they are propagating. And therefore, that reduces it to just a mere political narrative. In the US, where they borrowed this political narrative, Joe Biden has been unable to actually talk about maybe how the economy is improving through the bottom-up narrative. And they were forced actually to eat their humble pie and retract that particular slogan. And they actually, right now, as we are speaking, Miriam, on another slogan which does not even come anything close to bottom-up. When you look at the US under the bottom-up economic narrative, they have lost more jobs than before Biden took power. Yesterday, I was just looking at the non-farm payroll report, which shows how many jobs have been gained in the US, how many have been lost, and how many perhaps are in the prospects of being created. And they are losing big time because of a narrative of maybe that will sell with the proletariat of the society. And that is the same thing William Ruto wants to do with the people of Kenya. selling them an empty narrative with an intention of actually getting an easy ride to presidency. That will not happen, Miriam. The people of Kenya need to get details of whatever you'll do to them as a president. You've had Raila Odinga explaining his social security payment, the 6,000 for the vulnerable families. And when taken to task, he actually explains where he will get the money to do that. And he says he will sieve the corruption loopholes and the money that goes to corruption. For the record, President Uhuru Kenyatta said that we lose 2 billion Kenyan shillings in a day. And that is what Raila Odinga said. We are going to sieve the loopholes for corruption, and all that money is going to be directed towards that social security fund. And when you ask William Ruto where he will get his money, he talks about giving every constituency to a tune of 200 million. When you ask him, where are you going to get this money? He doesn't have an idea. Perhaps maybe he's going to take that money from a loan, getting loans from IMF, World Bank, and many other global financial institutions. And I can tell you for a fact, Miriam, those monies from IMF can only serve the purpose of enriching the people of Kenya if they invested, one, in financial and social welfare activities, like maybe industries and building more roads and enabling an environment where Kenyans can do business. You cannot take a loan or simply to give border operators or maybe mamambogas or people, watu wa mkokoteni, to uplift their lives. That money is going to be eaten. It has never worked here in Kenya, and that is why every election year, these self-help groups are always coming up, asking politicians to fund their activities. And once the elections are over, you hear the members are fighting over money which was given by a specific politician or a certain politician, and it was eaten by the officials. Actually, we've been having that even in the deputy president's campaign trail, where people have been fighting over money which has been donated by the deputy president. So his kind of model, his kind of narrative is not economically sustainable. And that is what they are using to hoodwink Kenyans, and that can never sell here in this country. It will cause more chaos and more damage to our political and social structure. And that is why we are at the danger of taking this country to the path of pure brinkmanship. So I support what Dr. Matsanga says. I support what you are proposing, that perhaps it is the lack of the agenda in this particular country that we are having this kind of retrogressive politics today, Miriam. I submit.
Mm-hmm. And even as you look at the politics of hate, and then you look, a lot of times this starts with the insult and the name calling that is exhibited by some of our leaders, so they aren't in these public arenas. And there are just a few politicians that I really love listening to, even when you look at when they're hosted in these morning shows or when they're speaking. You will never hear somebody like Kalonzo really calls people names or insults people, somebody like Kenyan, somebody like Senator Matangi of Kiambu. These are people who can speak and correct you and criticize you and do the politics, but you can hardly hear them insulting and calling people names. But majority of our politicians are really bad-mannered. And what really is interesting is Kenya seems to be attracted towards the people with such kind of bad behavior. Well, for instance, in the house, I will not have a nanny to look after my child who has a foul mouth, because one of the key requirements is it's important that you're good-mannered. But yet, I can elect somebody with bad manners to represent me, to advocate for my interest. What is the disconnect, or what is the problem with us as Kenyans, as a society, that has formed the basis for this kind of bad politics to grow, and that has enabled leaders with bad manners to hold positions of power in this country? What can we do, and what is wrong with us as a society that we tolerate and we enable these bad manners, Doctor? You're muted. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, sorry. You have brought a very good topic. Yesterday in a flight, when I was coming to the airport, going to the airport, the driving, someone drove past this way. Police stopped the person. So in the we started making an argument. I said, have you seen? Is this the way? If someone, you are taking your children, and this guy who was stopped, who was passing, overlapping, had the children going to school, medium, and the children are behind. The policeman now started talking to him, telling him very, very angrily, take the car, park the car this way and get out. And this man was now trying to say what? The children opened the windows and started listening to the argument. You're asking of which type of life do we have? That's the life. Can you see that, Miriam? That's the life we have. Apparently. Honestly, people, we are a society of bad manners. We are a society not only in Kenya, everywhere across Africa. The developed democracies, unless a man is on cannabis or marijuana, is when he can drive to overlap. Medium, and that person will be picked by the camera quickly and they will trace him. But for us, we see, we even the occupants of the cars enjoy when the man has overlapped. I don't know whether you have reached Nairo River in Jinja. I don't know whether you have gone to Uganda before. Try to go there. Imagine a car overlapping on the bridge. This is Nile crocodiles are waiting. This side there is a dam, electricity is being produced, and the car tries to overlap. What would you think of a human being of that nature? So where are we heading? In where? Where are we heading? So when you ask a question that, how do you elect such a person? The people are used to. We are used to. We are now supporting people whom we know have criminal records. And they go to court, they buy judges. Look at the words that Mr. Oscar Sudi used against Mamangina. The case has just been dismissed. He has won the case. Because the magistrate in Nakuru, judges, advocates, were busy paying money to the magistrate. They were paying money to magistrate. So the society is corrupted. So once you have a corrupted society, it cannot reason properly. It also goes to every sphere of life. At the hospital, a man who is more injured is someone who comes and passes an injured person, and for him is just having stomach pain, and he wants to be treated first. You hear that? That is the life. So that is how we end up selecting MPs who are going to represent you, who have bad manners. Miriam.
We vote them. Selection takes place in Somalia as we elect. There's a difference. But anyway, we move on to
you voted them, but you vote. That's what you said. You voted them.
Yes, we vote the ones with the bad manners. At least for us, we have an opportunity to choose. Unfortunately, our taste of the people we choose.
So are you not coming equivalent to Somalia?
I know Somalia, they select.
You are coming to equivalent to Somalia in terms of selecting bad manners or voting. Even if you are voting, Somalia also selects the worst manners. The degree of mannerism in parliament in Kenya. The Kenya one is moderate. Somalia one.
We are worse because for Somalis, the general public don't really have a voice on who leads them, But as we have that choice, and yet we make such a poor choice in the kind of people we elect, and we trust.
So if you got to what we call the final analysis, where do you end? You end in the same jackpot.
It's different. It's different kind of democracy.
No, Miriam, it can't. If we are going to generate, if we are reasoning seriously, a bad MP can cause chaos in a country.
Yes.
A bad MP in Somalia can also kill people.
The mode in which they get there is the difference, Doc. But I agree with you. It's all bad, except for us, it's worse because for us we can change that, and yet we still keep trusting these people by voting them in. You know, for the greater Somalis, majority for the electorate, they don't have the suffrage. You know, so they're not able to vote.
Do you know that I could turn the leaf, and maybe Wesonga can come in here and help us. Like I could turn the leaf and say, so we better use Somalia issue.
No, we don't. I want to choose my leaders.
Yeah, but you are picking. What is the meaning of picking your leader when you are picking a man whom you have already called on TV here? Yeah. Very bad. So the best thing is that maybe reasoning and for our viewers, if they brought you a bad man and a worse man, you'll select a bad man. So the best thing that Kenya should think about in the future and Africa is perhaps to sit down in Siaya and say, Miriam is a lady from Siaya. She has been a very good mannered lady. She doesn't cheat anybody's money. Let her go to parliament. That's the type of democracy we have now in the clans of Somali clans. They sit down and say, no, Duale, this time you are not going back.
How is that working from them? Because, you know, the bigger problem of Somalia is entrenched in the clanism, and that has played against them.
If it was not for Rimajo, it would have worked. Because it is used elsewhere.
Yeah, like in China, it is successful.
Yeah, you don't, for example, you don't have an MP in China. But China, they just sit one day in a year and they say, we shall give Kenya $60 billion to construct several things. Finished. And they go home. They go home to dig. Some of them go home and they use, you see the suits they borrow to come to the Beni Hall, to Mao Zedong Hall. They borrow suits. The suits are rented to them. When you go back to the village, you remove that suit and keep it back there for next year, for another one to rent it, who will be chosen in the clan. Miriam, let me expound this theory. Maybe it could be helpful to Africa. The politics of merit in Uganda, when Museveni took over power, he banned the political parties, all of them. And he told the people, we are selecting people on merit. Can I tell you why? Should I say something? You see, the 1995 Constitution they produced was one of the most excellent documents. I swear in the name of God, it was one of the best documents. Forget after it had been mutilated by removing term limit and age limit. But the document itself, I'm not at my home. I'm far away. I would have shown you. The document was done by MPs selected on merit. Because when you go to parliament on merit, even when the president comes, you say, Mr. Point of Order, Mr. President. What you are suggesting is rubbish. This is what Uganda, where I come from, how they feel. And they produce the politics of Uganda changed. Sincerely speaking, I want to tell you the truth. It changed. But now look at what Uganda is today. Out of 559 69 MPs. The ruling party has 492. Are you hearing me now? Is that democracy? Have you have chosen? You have elected. Are you receiving democracy now? The rest of the MPs, about 112, are opposition. So every motion that comes in parliament, take. You will not manage them. But if you went to the Somalia selection unit, some clans will say, no, my dear, no. One clan from South will say, no, I agree with that guy. And that's how they made that constitution of 1995 on merit. Politics of meritocracy is very important. You just, that's what China uses. China picks good people with good behavior, good background, no corruption. They come in parliament one day, 1 week, they sit, finish everything. Talk about nuclear power. How many nuclear weapons do we want to manufacture again this year? How many shall we manufacture in 5 years to come? How shall we increase our army? How many men should we recruit? And how much money are we going to borrow Miriam, to lend to Miriam and the company and the Matang? And that's it. They go home on merit. Thank you. Maybe Wesonga has a different idea, but I think the way things are moving, Africa will move towards there. I'm telling you. Because if you are selecting a very bad MP representing game, who stands up and then behaves, and then you yourself, you are told to behave very well. You yourself, even with your child.
My member of parliament is Jaguar here, so maybe that,
no, I was giving that.
I vote here.
Miriam wants my Akuba.
No, even Jaguar. Now look at the MP Jaguar. He was somewhere. Then he said, I don't like that place. He went to Kano. Then he found Kano very hot. He came back to Jubilee. Now he crossed it soon. Later he will come back. That's the type of behavior we have.
He is not a leader, and he should not get any leadership post anywhere, and especially not Starehe. I refuse that. I Jubilee, you did us wrong. You had better people who you could have proposed for Starehe. Being it's taking care of the CBD and very important places. No, I protest.
By the way, Miriam, he's also my MP.
I protest that.
We stay in Starehe together. I'm also in Starehe, by the way. I don't know whether you know.
We need somebody that is level-headed, that can lead, because this is a very important constituency. So we need that. Please, whoever who are proposing their candidates for here, tafuta watu who are proper. That's all. Yeah.
And Miriam, maybe just to maybe add the icing on the cake on what Dr. Matsanga said. You look at a system like what we have in Somalia or what we have in China. Actually, these consensus, they do not just go into the streets and get any Tom, Dick, and Harry to come and become a leader. The community actually settles on the best in terms of meritocracy. You know, is this a person who can perform? Where did he go to study to? What has he specialized to? Does his area of study actually rhyme and seamlessly go hand in hand with whatever roles we are about to give him? And you can see a party like the Communist Party of China, which is the single party in China, actually goes out there to fish for professionals. That is what Singapore was doing. That is what most of Eastern Asian countries were doing. And that is what is actually happening in most parts of these countries that have consensus kind of leadership. And it's actually working. You realize at the end of the day, politicians who do not have agenda, people who do not know even what they're talking about, they're not allowed any place near power. And therefore, it actually serves as a way of decanting bad leadership from the community through consensus. So this could be the best method Africa could partake, as Dr. Matsanga says. But for us, we have chosen to take a democracy, a structure that we have little understanding about, in that every election year, country has to be closed down so that we are able to elect our leaders. No way, Miriam, we cannot continue operating this way. Africans have to go to the drawing board and reconsider our system of governance. I submit.
I still want to vote in my leaders, so that's where I am. I've had this too much democracy. You can't take that from me now. I just want it to be better and work for me. So we'll keep fighting and demanding and wanting for better. I think that's all we can do. All right, so we move on to our next topic, and that is on the NGOs. So perhaps, Doc, you would want to start us off as we go on to the other topics in Africa. Doctor, the second topic on...
Thank you very much. I think the first topic on Africa was, if you can remind me.
On NGOs and corruption that has consumed the NGOs.
Miriam, it is linked to the first one. And it is linked to what we have just talked about. Previously, NGOs, if you look at the trend and the history of NGOs in Kenya, they always don't like the government because they claim the government is very corrupt. But have you noticed that of late, since last year, since the BBI started, the NGO went in a different direction. And they went in bed with the same corrupt people that they have been condemning and condemning up to today. You realize that the number of applications and the petitions against the BBI and other instruments of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta or any other laws of the president of Kenya have come from the NGOs and their lawyers. So the amount of corruption that is embedded in the judiciary in the form of advocates, lawyers no longer do cases, lawyers fix cases. There's no case in Kenya that is done, it is fixed. You know, tell me one which is not fixed. You go to Harvey and tell Harvey, I have a case. He said, don't worry, please, just go and bring me 4 million shillings. I will finish the case and you'll be a free man. Is Oscar not free now? Is Oscar, wasn't, Harvey Oscar's lawyer in Nakuru? Yes. Look at Oscar, he's free now. He insulted Mama Ngina, everybody heard. What he said about Mama Ngina. But is he free? Is he not free? He's free. So NGOs, civil society in Kenya, have actually teamed up and they have become a big and struggling and challenging obstacle for the people of Kenya. I submit.
All right, and that marks the end of our Kenyan topics this morning. So let's just get on to the rest of the topics on Africa, and we start with Uganda, to pay or not to pay. Judges at the International Court of Justice on Wednesday ruled that Uganda must pay $325 million in reparations to the Democratic Republic of Congo for its role in conflicts in Congo's resource-rich Ituri province. Uganda must pay the sum in 5 yearly installments of $65 million to start in September of this year. Presiding Judge Joan Denohe has said ICJ Chief Judge Joan Denohe broke down what the reparations were for. $225 million for damage to persons, $40 million to damage to property, $60 million for plundering natural resources, including gold, diamonds, tungsten, and timber. The total award is far short of the $11 billion Congo had initially asked for. The court dismissed several claims, including broad compensation for microeconomic damage, saying a clear link between Uganda's actions and alleged economic damage was not short. So, Doc, the last time we were having this conversation, you were saying, Uganda is not going to pay the 11 billion, but now the amount has been reduced to 325 million US dollars. Should Uganda pay or not pay the year? You're muted.
To pay what, Miriam? Miriam, I told you, Uganda will not pay a penny. After all, this court has no warrant of arrest that they will arrest anybody. There's no criminal liability. This court is not for criminal liability. Congo missed. It could, if it wanted, it would have gone to a criminal liability court, a court that can sentence you, that you have a criminal liability for having displaced the people of Ituri forest and kicked them and then looted their minerals. But that court has no teeth to bite. So that resolution is going to create Mr. Tshisekedi to lose his power. And watch the scheme here. It is going to happen. Last Saturday, he was gone. He was lucky that some of the few of his lieutenants were able to neutralize the group that had come to take power in the radio stations. You get the point, Miriam? So Uganda will not pay. Uganda, it will go down with someone. It's not going to pay. I told you yesterday, take it from me. Thanks. They have said $300 million. Who is going to pay $325 million? Who? We. Do you know how many years it will take? 94 years. So there is another way. Those who took the things can pay, but not Uganda. You know, it is going to be that let Uganda, let Congo pay for us going into DRC to dig their roads. Are they paying us? So Uganda will not pay. Thank you.
Very well, Daniel, Uganda now, of course, the DRC was asking for 11 billion US dollars reparations, but the court has awarded it, 325 million US dollars, and this should be paid in a span of a couple of years, and 65 million US dollars per year in a span of 5 years, And do you see this happening? And owing to what is happening right now in the DRC, Ugandan troops are in the Democratic Republic of Congo trying to help stabilize and fight the insurgency, the militancy that has been ongoing. And at the same time, Uganda is being accused of having looted part of this money that now DRC is claiming that Uganda should pay it. And indeed, it was awarded by the ICJ.
Miriam, I remember during the hearing of the presidential petition in 2017, one PLO Lumumba said that of the small evils, law cannot cure. And this is the scenario with Uganda and Congo. These are things which were done some time back. And the situation at that time was that Congo was a bit unstable. And therefore, we had a lot of people who were infiltrating the borders of Congo, including the French. Why are the French not being charged of the resources that they have been stealing from Congo? Why hasn't Belgium, which turned Congo into the personal property of the emperor, being charged, about looting the resources of Congo? So to me, I believe this is just a ruling that is meant to bring maybe bad or diplomatic relations between Uganda and Congo. And I believe such kind of ruling cannot be effective in that no person will be held accountable to that. What will happen to Uganda if it doesn't pay, Will they go to Kampala and arrest President Yoweri Museveni? Will they arrest the Minister of Foreign Affairs or the head of the military? There's nothing they can do about it. ICJ still remains that toothless dog that can issue a directive or a ruling without having the mechanism to implement and have it effected. Just the same way it has its previous case on borders has never been effected. You see it actually goes even against perhaps maybe perception that it has been bringing on board when it deals with the Kenyan-Somalia border. Why can't it also accuse Somalia of stealing the our oil blocks in the Indian Ocean? Why did it now change the narrative when it came to the issue of Somalia? Why they say that whatever is good for the goose is good for the gander, and therefore, if they are ruling that Congo should be compensated by Uganda, then it is the same rationale it will have used also in the maritime border issue. But all in all, Miriam, I believe these are small evils which the law cannot cure, as PLO once said. And I believe for the Ugandan case, just like Dr. Matsanga has said, and I don't want to dilute whatever comment that Dr. Matsanga has given. I believe he has given it on the basis of diplomatic understanding and his vast experience in the matters, DRC, Congo, and its neighbors. I believe it will not happen. No one will be held accountable to pay this particular maybe fine that has been imposed by ICJ. I submit.
And perhaps this brings me to my next question, because the ICJ, we've seen even in the history, and so many countries that did not honor the rulings that have come out of that court, including the United States itself and other countries. Okay, so why do we need the ICJ then? Why is it in place? Because the member states, ratified and are part of this and have agreed, and yet they're not able to respect. And, the case between Kenya and Somalia, like we said the other day, I'm not sure Somalia troops have already assembled to the place they claim is their country, because for the last I checked, Kenya was strongly there, and President Uhuru Kenyatta made it very clear, not an inch will be taken away from the country. So why do we have institutions like ICJ then? Do we need to scrap it? Do we need to relook at their mandate? Do we need to empower them more? As you've said, it's a toothless dog. Or do we just get rid of it altogether? Why do we still need it there?
Miriam, the reason why we still have ICJ is the same reason why we still have the African Union. It is because African countries who subscribe to ICJ have failed to actually maybe take serious the move or maybe the proposition by President Uhuru Kenyatta and many other leaders before President Uhuru Kenyatta that Africa should actually bail out of the ICJ. They should actually not walk out of the ICJ, but also even the International Criminal Court, because these are courts which continue minting money from poor African countries, but they do not serve any purpose or solve any crisis in Africa. And with the continual paying of monies and subscription fees to institutions such as ICJ and ICC, whereas people in Africa are dying of hunger, whereas people in Africa are dying of insecurity, then that is the lowest point, the lowest show of patriotism to our continent that our leaders have ever shown. We should walk out of these particular amorphous organizations that do not add value to the African continent. Africa should be able to chart its own future in regards to bodies of jurisdiction such as maybe the African Court of Justice, and also maybe in matters African Union. If we had a strong African Union, we will never be going to ICJ to settle on issues, maybe such cases like Congo went to, and even Somalia. We will be solving our problems locally in an amicable way, in a brotherly way. But since our African leaders are not prioritizing the formation of bodies that can be able to champion for African legal matters and leadership matters, then we have to go all the way to ICJ and ICC. But if we had proper leadership in African Union, we will be having a proper court for Africa. We'll be having other, even labor organizations for Africa that serve the purpose for African workers and also advocate for better trade deals with other continents. But because the AU is dead, the ICJ remains dead, and therefore African matters also remain dead. And that is why even that ruling by ICJ cannot affect Uganda, nor can it have impact on Congo. So that is the reality of the matter, Miriam.
Very well. And with that, I think we get to move on to our next topic, and that is on Tanzania. And is it on course? As we know, President Suluhu, just 9 months into her presidency, has been embarking on a lot of, initiatives and development agendas and building and bridging diplomatic relations that perhaps are not very apparent during the later President Magufuli's tenure. And we know that she has taken on the what we're seeing here in the country, the development of infrastructure in Tanzania. And President Samia Suluhu Hassan told the country that her ambition is to complete a railway line that will link the East African community. And President Samia has been aggressively seeking funding and partnership for more than 80 projects that she is undertaking after taking over from President John Magufuli, who died in March last year. Kenya-Tanzania bilateral trade has hit $905.5 million in 2021 for the period January to November 2021, according to the Central Bank of Kenya. The details were presented at an East African Business Council Trade Facilitation Forum at Namanga. As we know that Kenya Shipyard Limited, we were looking at it yesterday, who has now received about 11 orders to make new ships, and some of these orders are from Tanzania. I think about is it 5 or 6 of them, and from Tanzania. So that also goes to show how much perhaps relation between Kenya and Tanzania has come a long way since President Suluhu has been in power, because we know, I doubt if Magufuli was the one still the president in Tanzania, if at all we would have even received that order for the Kenya Shipyard Limited. But those are just a few of some of the things that President Suluhu has been embarking on and she's been doing. So when you judge her towards a year, in her presidency, and we do know, because we know during President Magufuli's time, foreign media were banned in Tanzania, so you could not stream BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, any other foreign news. I guess even Kenya was considered foreign, I suppose. But now all of this has been allowed to operate, of course, within given parameters, and you've seen some strides being made in relation to just allowing that freedom, not fully, but at least some changes have been effected since she became the president. So when you look at what she's been able to do so far, can you rightly say that Tanzania is on the track? I don't see Doc, so perhaps Daniel, you will take that, and then Doc will conclude for us.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, Madam Samia Suluhu is actually walking in the footsteps of his late boss, John Pombe Magufuli. And you saw the kind of deputy president she was to Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, always playing underneath the background and allowing the president to do his work and supporting him in every initiative that he undertook to be able to develop and be able to bring prosperity to the people of Tanzania. That is what a president will request from a deputy. Not whatever shenanigans and theatrics we are seeing here in Kenya. Starting to campaign for his presidential term in 2015, even before the president finishes his second term, that is like a very, very bad thing to do for a leader. And it's actually the height of belligerence that we see here in Kenya that you wouldn't have seen in Tanzania. And therefore that tells you that Madam Samia Suluhu was more bound to actually continue with the legacy of her late boss, John Pombe Magufuli. And that is what she's doing. I believe she's actually working more to sustain and to continue with the project that had been launched with the previous government, and therefore just reinforcing whichever legacy perhaps would have been for the late President John Pombe Magufuli. And in the fullness of time, Miriam, I believe she will be able to take Tanzania to where it is destined to be in the next few years. And just by the fact that she has opened up maybe the bilateral working relationships with Kenya, that actually is something good for the East African community. And that is what anyone else who is living in this particular region would hope for. We've seen the other day even President Paul Kagame going it soft with President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in opening up the border between Rwanda and Uganda. I believe that is something good for the East African community. And if all leaders can be able to work in that particular channel, then we shall be able to achieve more as a continent, and even the individual countries will be able to grow even much more in that regard. I submit, Miriam.
Very well, Doc. Your comments on Tanzania and if at all the country is on the right track under the leadership of President Samia Suluhu. Okay, so I think Doc is still having a bit of a challenge with his connection. So perhaps we'll just get into our last section, and that is what stood out for us this week. Daniel Wisungano, we've had so much to look at and to talk about on the headlines that we've been looking at across the week. So I don't know what stood out for you this week.
Thank you, Miriam. And of course, whatever stood out for me this week was in Kenya. And just a few days ago, there was a deadline actually where politicians who are allied to a specific party were to resign before maybe assuming their membership of the new party that they wish to vie on come the 9th of August. Now, from where I sit, I was expecting a mass exodus come the midnight of that particular deadline. But I did not see any UDA MP, Jubilee MP who have been saying they're in UDA actually crossing over and maybe saying that they have resigned from the Jubilee party and therefore they are going to start their UDA party membership. So that actually stood out for me. And that tells you that a Jubilee party is still a force to reckon with. And I can assure you, Miriam, as the sun will rise tomorrow, the Jubilee party is going to get a majority seats in Mount Kenya region and other regions where they had an edge over other political parties in 2013 and 2017 presidential election. So that really was something extraordinary for me, because these are the same guys who have been threatening us that very, very soon they will actually move from Jubilee party and leave it a shell, only for them, for the D-Day to come and you see all of them coiling their tails and no one is talking about resigning from the Jubilee party, Miriam.
Very well, thank you so much. I think what stood out for me, and I'm sure, Daniel, maybe you've seen it on social media, is she was 98, but I think today she turns 99 and she went back to school. Her name is Priscilla Sitine in Rift Valley. She went back to school and she says she wants to become a doctor. She went back to school at the age of 98 and she still has dreams. So if you're sitting there and you're 45, 50 and you think it's too late, look at that. That should challenge so many people who perhaps think, you know, age is not on their side for them to go and live their dreams. So she turns 99-year-olds today. She wants to go. She still has dreams of becoming a doctor. Of course, you know, that is yet to be seen. But also that, you know, reminded me of perhaps what is happening in South Sudan, because there is an intense program to try to bring adults back to school, because we know a lot of majority of South Sudanese are not educated, obviously because of the instability that has been going on. So there is a very intense and, you know, program to bring adults back to school. And even here in Kenya, we read some of these cases. So is it perhaps about time the Ministry of Education considered having a curriculum for adults, you know, who might still want to go back to school because for one reason or another, they were not able to attend school when they were younger? That is something that maybe we should think about. Doc, we were looking at the issue of Tanzania, and I think you've had a bit of a problem with your connection. Maybe you can give your thoughts and also tell us what stood out for you over this week.
Miriam, Tanzania, frankly, I was there. The Tanzania that I saw in 1978 is not the Tanzania of today. Of course, you will tell me, yeah, things have changed. We are no longer using typewriters. We are using laptops. But the direction at which it is taking, the evaporation of Nyerere's Utu, Ujamaa, Ubuntu, the livelihood. Miriam, if I may ask you, why are we crying today that there are coups, military coups? Where are the military coups coming from, my dear sister? We go and train our officers in democratic states. Then they come back to undemocratic states. Don't you think they will create a coup? Tanzania used to be one of the best training institution for liberation forces in Southern Africa. Why can't Africa take their soldiers there? to learn that thing of ujamaa, togetherness, azimio. Tanzania, despite all these difficulties, is now being watered with civil society. You know, when you give a country too much democracy, it kills Rome. And as you know, a lot of democracy killed Rome, Miriam. Rome is no more. That's why Emperor Nero decided to destroy it, thinking that he would kill democracy. Yet it was the people who were there who are making democracy very not welcome, because they behaved so badly. You remember at one time, Emperor Nero killed all Christians, and they thought he could silence religion until religion stuck in Rome. Half of the world today, or 3/4 of the world, are Catholics. Am I wrong? It's the biggest religion across the world. Why do you think so? Because religion started in Rome. Christians were cut until they came up with a place where they were isolated. And if you look at those buildings where Pope stays, they were not built yesterday. Some of them are old buildings of the emperors, Julius Caesar. They are still there. So what is happening in Tanzania is the evaporation of Nyerere's, type of democracy, where people grew up. It ties up with the topic which we have had in Kenya, that the MPs in Kenya and Tanzania those days, Nyerere wouldn't allow you to be a CCM party member if you a grabber, land grabber. If you grab land, you grab money, corruptly take money, you wouldn't. You wouldn't be allowed to be a member of Nyerere's party. You sit in the parliament with Nyerere. You would not. But today, look at what is happening. The other side of Tanzania, Chadema, and the other parties, smaller parties, are now the ones actually trying to export bad manners to the rest of Africa. You recently saw the leader of a party from Zimbabwe called CCC. I don't know how they are going to use that. Africans have names. They are very good at coining names. CCC, with yellow colors. Tanzania is changing. But is it changing in the right direction? Time to come, that unity that Nyerere left there could be no more, Miriam. Remember, there are more tribes in Tanzania than there are in Kenya. In Kenya, you have 42 tribes, I think. Tanzania has over 142 tribes. It is fragmented. It was like a reserve country, where partly Bantu, partly Luo, partly the Nyamwezis. You remember the kingdom of the Nyamwezi, the Hehe, the Majimaji rebellions. People there are divided into several units. But when you look at the way things are, which direction is it taking? I think it has brought in something that is very strange, that we shall see shortly as it keeps on developing. Civil society, the new regime of His Excellency President Samia Suluhu. Medium is allowing civil activism. All bad activists are running to Tanzania today. Why? Tanzania seems to be going towards what South Africa experienced in SADC. There were no civil society in Zimbabwe. They all went to South Africa to practice civil society. Look at what South Africa is today. It's a share of difficulties, to the extent that the white supremacy has called the civil society, uses it against the government. Ramaphosa came to power, said, I will take land back without compensation. Has he taken one farm back? Even one farm back, has it gone? Civil society came up and said, try it. But the civil society in Kenya has linked, because I linked this when I was choosing these topics. There was a theme. And if you can see from the topic number 1, hatred. Topic number 2, civil society in Kenya. Topic number 3, about Africa, Uganda. What is the mess? Where was Uganda sleeping when this case was in the ICJ? Now we have reached a point to pay or not to pay. Shall we pay? We shall not pay. Then we come to this final topic. The key words and the denominator is there. Where are we heading? The civil society seems to be disappearing in one country while it is building itself somewhere else. That is my submission, Miriam.
And what stood out for you, Doc, this week?
What stood up for me this week is President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. What he said this week is what I expect him to continue saying, the truth. Tuambiane ukweli, hakuna kudanganya. Tuambiane ukweli. Ruto is a ghost worker, a very dangerous ghost worker who is ghostless, who is a ghost. Yeah, there are ghosts that you can see, but when you find a ghostless worker, a ghost which becomes ghostless is not very good. Have you ever woken up from your dream and then you see something was moving in a house, Miriam? Have you? You feel like today? I woke up. I was fighting myself on the bed. Then I looked around. There was. What is this? Miriam, that is a way that President Uhuru Kenyatta, he stood out, his statement stood out for me. I'm a very pleased man that he keeps that line. And the said tells us more, because here we elected 2 people. You people in Kenya went to the polls, stood in a queue twice, elected a president and a deputy. The deputy absconded work. The deputy is lying to the people that he made projects which he did not take part in. Isn't it time to correct the history? That stood out for me. The second point that stood out for me, Miriam, is the universal health care, the opening of a hospital of cancer in Mombasa. I'm very happy. And I want to laud the president very much for opening the cancer unit in Mombasa, that Mr. President continue to open more in the remaining 7 months, such that you can leave people, if they have cancer problems, they go to these hospitals and start treatment, which will cut down the costs. And so poverty and the people selling their properties and the land titles and so on in order to go to India will be the end of history, will be no more. That stood out for me. Another point that stood out for me across Africa is the formation of a military coup coming in another third country. I don't know whether you have noticed something very strange. The entire chief of staff and his army are in a certain European country of another African country. So watch the stars of the moon upstairs. When you look in the skies, you can see the signs. I don't want to mention the country here, but you can read and find out. Then you watch, keep your fingers closed. In 1971, Idi Amin was invited, and the chief of staff and others were invited to go to this same country. Miriam, we had a coup. I end my remarks. So find out what this country that has taken the entire military for this whole week, for 2 weeks. There is another coup in Africa coming. And when it comes, you are good at writing notes. This time, don't forget the date. 11th of February, 2022, at about 4 minutes past 12, I told you. Otherwise, that one stood out for me. Mm-hmm. And perhaps if you want to make it better in ending, let's end it this way by saying, what stood out for me also is, we shall not pay. Instead, we shall go mundo homundo. And I bet you are going to watch very carefully. This topic has caused so many governments in that country collapse. I'm not a prophet of doom, but to tell Ugandans that we pay, Uganda would rather go with one person in Congo than paying this money. I can't discuss more details here, but I'm telling you, we shall not pay. We don't have the money. You know, the consequences of Miriam. I've read the ruling. I've read the ruling of the International Court of Justice. Do you know that it opens up a Pandora box for individuals to be taken to court? Did you know that? In a criminal matter. Because it has, you know, it has segmented the money payments, $60 million for compensation of people killed. Who killed them? You know, this ruling has opened up a lot of things which some Congolese will go to criminal courts and seek remedy. So Uganda government should be advised that we start to make sure that we block any avenue where individuals in my country will be taken down personally for these cases. I submit, and that is what it was the week for me. And I don't know what Wesonga said the week was.
Wesonga already shared his week, what stood out for him, myself too, but I think I forgot one thing. AU adopted Swahili as an official working language in African Union, and since that...
Miriam, that is a song, I think it's a song in my ears. We have been adopting.
Can I finish my thought? Ethiopia, since then, has started teaching Swahili in its schools, and Tanzania will be helping in facilitating that. So hopefully we are slowly realizing this as after that adoption. So progress is being made, Doc.
No. Mm-hmm. I think you are looking at it in yes. If Ethiopia has started teaching Swahili, out of 54 countries, which other countries teaching Swahili?
Last year, UNESCO declared 7th of July as a day to celebrate Swahili across the world. So this declaration by AU is very timely. Now it's not just a declaration, but it has been adopted as an official language in the African Union. So that will be used by any leaders seeking to address the summit or anything. So it's official now.
So are we going to explain the word up, bottom up in the AU also?
I don't know about that, but I think I'm done for today.
No, I'm asking, you are done for today, but I am asking, there are certain people, the issue is there are no people in Africa who will implement the point I'm making. I'm not saying it is not going to happen. But how many declarations have we made? We can't make a blanket statement by saying there is a declaration of Swahili. UNESCO has said, how many countries? Since we started saying in 20, you know when we started proclaiming Swahili as a national and African language? When AU was AU. Medium, 21 years today. There is no parliament.
Now it has been adopted. So that is progress after the 20 years.
Do you really know what adopting and implementation is? They are two different things. They are adopted. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm saying that is what they say every day. But there is no substance here. And let's be honest, you rather know what adoption and implementation is. They have been saying that since Durban. They said they will. They have never said it. They have never done it. They have never done it. African Union never does anything practical. It doesn't. So if there is a way, the only thing we can do is to change African Union modus operandi. If we are to implement, they told us they will have a passport. It is not there. I can't reason like a garbage here. I'm not garbage. I have to reason. I filled my forms for a passport. It is not there. It's not available. Where's the passport here? Implementation is what is killing African Union. Swahili can be, it has been there since Durban 21 years ago. They said Swahili must be implemented. When the man from West African state was the Secretary General. When Salim Ahmed Salim was the AU Secretary General, he introduced the topic. Go back and do research and see what implementation and adoption is. You can adopt, but you can't implement. Wesonga. Daniel. Daniel. Sam, is the program still on?